It's Waxing Lyrical, baby.
Hello, Waxers, and welcome to Waxing Lyrical, Mainz and Dutch. It's game day. I'm your host, Mainz, my colleague in the danger zone in Rainford. It's Mr. Neil Dutton. How are we, Neil?
Happy Star Trek Day to you.
Okay, you're going to have to explain that.
On September the 8th, 1966, a TV show called Star Trek first appeared on the screens in America. It ran for 3 seasons and 78 episodes before it was cancelled, despite the opening spiel saying it was a 5-year mission. It then disappeared. You know, the actors all went off their separate ways, but it reappeared in syndication, became popular. They were about to launch a second series, but then in 1977, a little-known film called Star Wars came along and changed that idea into a movie. It's now spawned 13 movies, countless spin-offs, thousands of novels, and geeks uniting all across the globe.
I absolutely love Trekkers, me. Love them. Love them. If you don't get that joke, I can't help you. It's week 1 of the NFL season. We are a mere hours away from Thursday Night Football, Bills against Rams, and we are in the regular season schedule. What we will do week on week, we will talk to you about the Mainz events of the week to come and the week that's just happened. Neil will give you fantasy darlings of the week and fantasy loser of the week, and we will continue last season's fantastically successful Mainz and Dutch fantasy prediction of the week. There's some irony in that, or maybe there's not. Just don't listen back to find out how bad we were at it.
No, we'll tell you if we get it right. You don't need to tell us if we get it wrong.
Correct, Neil, correct. That is absolutely correct. Most weeks we will do this on a Thursday, so we will not regularly talk about Thursday night football, because by the time it comes out and is posted, you will have watched it on your either staying up late if you are psychotic, or watched it in the game in 40 eventually whenever NFL Network works.
Ouch.
Oh, come on, Neil. You know, I'm a man who works in IT. Those clowns ain't got no clue. Let's get on with the show, Neil, and let's crack on with a Neil-inspired pun, the Mainz event.
Time now for the main event.
Yeah, new sound is right. We're going to talk a few different things this week. First thing is, week 1, Neil, is seen and could be called quarterback revenge game week. We have 3 big matchups. We have Baker versus the Browns. We have Russ versus the Seahawks. And little known matchup, Joe Flacco versus the Baltimore Ravens. I guess, Neil, of the quarterbacks in Revenge World, which one of them wins?
For me, the most likely to win is Russ. I just think that, I'm trying to put this politely, and also in, use technical language. Yeah, I think the Broncos are going to kick the living piss out of the Seahawks. They're going to beat them like they stole something. And, they're going to let Russ cook. Whether that stays the whole season, I don't know. But for this week, they're going to absolutely fill the air with footballs and rip the Seahawks a new one.
There's only one answer to this, and Neil has picked the incorrect one. The one answer to this is obviously Baker Mayfield against the Browns. Baker Mayfield, as someone who's ginger, I'm allowed to say this, will beat the Cleveland Browns like a ginger stepchild. Baker Mayfield will be so good this week that Progressive will call him back and see if he can join their commercials again. They'll be asking if he can do those commercials from inside Carolina Stadium. The Browns are not good. They might be good eventually, but right now they're not good. And I assume they lose, and one of the reasons I assume they lose is they get Angry Baker, and Angry Baker is not something you should be trifling with. And as Mina Kimes mentioned on her show today, his shoulder now isn't barbacoa. Neil, which one of these quarterbacks will play this week wishes he would never have left his previous situation?
Well, that has to be Joe Flacco, because let's be honest, it's gone downhill dramatically since he left the Ravens. I'm not saying he could have been the backup to Lamar Jackson, because I don't know if anyone's noticed, they're not quite the same player. But he's, I actually watched their last preseason game against the Giants. I'm a sicko. And he looked bloody awful. It's like Matt Harmon said this various times last season when he was playing for the Jets. It's like, Joe, what money problems have you got that you need to take $5 million a year to put yourself through this? It's gone. It's game over, man. Remember that magical postseason run he went on when he won the Super Bowl after betting himself? Yeah, 10 years this year, Joe. You've been bad for most of the time since. So yeah, he should have left. He should never have left, but maybe he should have left on his own volition and just decided to take up the pike and slippers.
Regularly, me or Neil will send each other a tweet or a message related to something that we feel is 2 weeks ago, but is actually a very long time ago. And our usual response to each other is F you. So F you, Neil, for highlighting that Joe Flacco won the Super Bowl decades ago.
Sorry, man.
I think Russ will wish he never left. He's going to Seattle. He's going to get that 12th man vibe, but against him, Neil, the first time he's going to feel the full brunt of the 12th man against him. I'm not convinced by the Broncos at all. They have Nathaniel Hackett as the head coach. I'm not sure they're going to be synced immediately. Will they win against Seattle? Probably. But I think Russ will be there saying how sad it was that he had to leave, given the kind of noise and veracity that I believe will be in Seattle. Because in week one, everyone believes they're good. We know Seattle aren't. I'm not sure the fans do.
If, by the way, you don't like to be told things were a long time ago when you think they were mere weeks ago, you probably won't know that in 5 weeks we'll have been doing this for 10 years.
No, I don't want to know that either.
No. Most people, the 3 people who are listening, don't either.
Neil, next question this week, we're going to do it in kind of question-answer form. Which playoff team from last season will be the team people are panicking about by Tuesday?
Well, we do know that Monday is going to be overreaction day. Every winning team is going 17-0. Every losing team is going 0-17. There will be no grey areas. There will be no middle ground. If you do not take a side on Monday, you are a coward. But, in keeping with that, I think the one that everyone will be up in arms about, because they will lose week one, it will be the Packers. Now, the Packers could have the best defense in the NFC North. I'm prepared to concede it. But you score points to win you win the game by scoring points, and I just think the Vikings got the better offense, and it's been a few years since I've been able to say that. So I think, I'm not going to say Rodgers is going to look terrible, but I think he's going to be out-dueled by Kirk Coupons, and people start asking questions of, is this it? Have we hit the wall? And then he'll come out and say something stupid to Pat McAfee or Joe Rogan, whoever it is, and they'll be fine. But people will be losing their collective marbles on Monday.
The Arizona Cardinals are going to get absolutely boat raced by the Kansas City Chiefs. Now that shouldn't necessarily be all that shocking because the Chiefs are really good. However, given the off-season narrative around the Arizona Cardinals, adding to a 20-point plus loss, panic stations will be happening. What's going on with Cliff? He's already on the hot seat. How is this Steve Keim still got a gig? Did Kyler Murray play too much Call of Duty on Saturday before he played the game on Sunday? All that caper. I think the Arizona Cardinals are in for a bit of bother this weekend. Now, I don't think they're that good, and I think they've still got a chance to make the playoffs, but I do think they get battered this week by the Chiefs, who I think are going to come out all guns blazing to show that, there's life without Tyreek.
I didn't appreciate Patrick Mahomes coming out and saying sorry to fantasy players, because we're going to game plan the wide receiver one on a given week, so I don't know who to draft. No, Patrick, you tell me it's Juju. You can't now, because I changed my mind. I changed my position on Juju, but now to hear this crap from his quarterback, I don't need that.
But I guess it'd be game plan on a week-to-week basis, but if 15 of those weeks are Juju, then everyone's fine, right?
That's fine. I can live with that.
The one player you can't wait to see week one, Neil?
Well, I'm going to go Homer here. I'm going to say A.J. Brown, because A.J. Brown plays for the Philadelphia Eagles, and as excited as Fred Challoner was to see Devonta Smith in an Eagles jersey, there was an element of, you don't know, he's a rookie, what's going to happen here, is it going to be good? Whereas I know A.J. Brown is a grown-ass man, and I want to see him do great things in an Eagles uniform, and I want to start in week one.
Neil, you are a man who listens to podcasts in 1.5, if not 2 speed, right?
2.
Twice this week, it's been highlighted that the new Philadelphia podcast for The Ringer, the Philly special with Ben Solak and Chil Kapadia, cannot be listened to at 2 speed. Because if you listen to Ben at 2 speed, that's technically Ben at 4 speed, and it becomes almost impossible to listen to.
Ben Solak used to read the end of the Kiss and Solak show. He used to read like the credits, as it were, and it was quick in normal speed. But because I listened, it was like Jesus wept. We have this problem because I listen to my podcast at double speed. And then occasionally we, trick people to come on this show.
Yeah.
I do sometimes sit there and think, why are you talking so slowly? But it's not. I'm the one with the problem. It's not them. If friend Solak ever deems to join us on the show, and believe me, I've been asking since 2019, I think it'll blow my mind that he sounds exactly like it is when I'm listening to him anyway.
My pick for week one this week is Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence had a really bad season, not necessarily for him personally, but just the situation around him, Urban Meyer, all that complete mess in Jacksonville. He now, as an adult, as a head coach in Doug Peterson, I think he was seen as an unbelievable talent, kind of a Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning style next level quarterback,
a talent elevator.
Correct, and I expect that to happen ASAP. He's playing the Washington football team, who are garbage and should be sent to the moon. So I think there's a chance that Trevor, quote unquote, pulls the upset for those who are that way inclined, and puts on a show in America's capital, where there may be somewhere in the region of 10,000 people watching.
See, anything Doug Peterson does is a win this year because of last year. So all Doug has to do is get the flight home to from every road game.
Correct.
And he's already better than Urban Meyer. I struggle to think that Trevor Lawrence could be as good as he was for as long as he was in college to be a bust. I just think you look at quarterbacks who've been taken that high who have busted. The reasons have been limited college production. We saw what we wanted to see after like 12 games or something. Not we, the scouting industrial complex. And then it was, actually, he can't actually do this. Trevor Lawrence wasn't, he wasn't playing for, bumcrack university. He was playing for Clemson. So I think if, you put an adult, you put a scheme in place around him to maximise his talent, we'll see a better quarterback. I don't think we're going to see the Peyton Manning 3-13, 11-5.
No.
But I don't think we're going to see another, good God, have you ever actually played this game before season?
Yeah, they are. I heard the stat that they are more, in terms of betting odds, they're more likely to win the AFC South than make the wild card, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, I do see them as a decent team this year, and anything above Urban Meyer's got to be good. That's it for the Mainz event. Let's move on and let's talk fantasy. And let's start week one as we mean to go on with Neil giving us some fantasy darlings.
Hello, darling.
Right, the first one, hear me out, it's a bit of a wild one. But if you're like me, maybe you left quarterback too late in some of your drafts. Maybe, and hypothetically speaking, you got clever and thought, I'll take Kirk Cousins, but I'll take him next, he'll get to me, and he never did. Maybe you then spent the next 30 seconds of your time on the clock swearing about that, but I digress. Someone I would not be averse to starting this week is Jameis Winston. Now, Jameis throws a lot of interceptions. Do you know how much that matters in fantasy? Not a lot. Unless you're in a really, really harsh league. Who gives a toss? Throw the ball lots, get lots of yards, score fancy points. That's great. So Jameis Winston last year was conservative with a capital C, but this offense now, in theory, has an upgrade at all its receiver spots. Because maybe Michael Thomas is back. You've got Jarvis Landry, you've got Chris Olave. So maybe they'll actually let him throw the ball more than he did. He had 14 touchdowns in 7 games last year. The one thing that I really like about this matchup is that the Falcons, who the Saints are playing. By the way, this rivalry is one of the most intense in the NFL for two teams that, aside from maybe 6 or 7 years of its rivalry, have both been shite. But yeah, Jameis Winston loves playing the Falcons. So when he's played against them in his career, because obviously he used to play for the Bucs, in case people have forgotten, he averages 278 passing yards, 3 touchdowns per game, and 26 fantasy points. So, he's not a bad pick.
Who's your second one, Neil?
Second one, I don't think it's going to be any surprise to anyone. It's David Njoku, because he's still not rostered in enough leagues for my liking. Now, I know he's in a game that you think he's going to get his eye wiped. But Jacoby Brissett, if he does anything well, he may do. If he does anything well, it's target the living piss out of tight ends. I think when he was the starter for the Colts in 2017 and 2019, he targeted the tight ends on 28% of his targets. There's only Njoku among them tight ends who I'm caring about. There's only Amari Cooper ahead of Njoku in the passing game that I care about. So if you're hurting for tight end this week, plug in Njoku, and you won't have to worry about it for the rest of the season, because this is his year.
This is his year for the 5th year in the run that Neil tells us about him. Obviously, it's always good to go positive, but you've got to go negative as well. So let's find out who Neil has picked this week as a fantasy loser.
People might not want to hear it because of where you were taking him in the draft, but I don't think Devontae Adams is in for a big game this week. He's up against an excellent defense, a great secondary, and, as we've said, he's got more target competition on the Raiders than he had in Green Bay. So I don't think we can expect him to be the wide receiver 1, and I don't know if he'll be a wide receiver 1.
Neil, I don't know if you saw today, CMC back on the injury report. Now, it seems like he got a cleat to the shin, and that's why he's on there. Will this man ever be off the injury report?
But did you see the 2 letters at the end of the injury report against his name?
Full practice?
Yeah, full participation. Yeah. So you're just putting him on the injury report now when he's not injured. That's an epic troll job, Carolina Panthers social media team. Well done. But, I've been told that Christian McCaffrey is going to get injured this season. Oh, well. Why bother then? The injuries he's got, it's the same as Derrick Henry last year. These are not recurring soft tissue injuries. These are serious, freaky, fluky injuries that he's picking up. If anyone out there can predict that when players are going to get injured and the exact week, please give me a shout. I would like to hire you when I'm drafting and when I'm picking my fantasy teams. But as no one can, let's just let him play. If you want Christian McCaffrey in your fantasy team, and most people do, and he gets injured, well, you're still allowed to have picked other players. It wasn't, you've got CMC, that's your lot. Doesn't work that way. So I am not concerned until I have something to be concerned about.
Love it, Neil, love it. Without further ado, let us get on to everybody's favourite part of the show that makes us look really, really stupid. our fantasy prediction of the week. I'll go first, Daniel. You mentioned the man who is my fantasy prediction of the week. Injury last year derailed it, but he was still like the third leading rusher and the man with the fourth most carries. That's everyone's favourite unicorn in the running back position. Centaur Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry and the Tennessee Titans are at home to the New York Football Giants this week. I think we need to be clear here, the New York Football Giants are not very good. And they're especially not very good on defence. Now, they do have Wink Martindale, which means there's a high possibility that they may blitz 94% of their plays. However, I expect Derrick Henry to get over 25 fantasy points against the Giants in what I would expect to be a rout for Tennessee. Neil, what's yours?
Well, as we know, in most standard leagues, there are 12 teams. So that means on a given week, there are 12 QB1s. 12 top-scoring quarterbacks, assuming you pick them. 2 of the 12 leading scoring quarterbacks this week will be in the same game. And that game will be Chicago against San Francisco.
Just to double check, while we're still here, that is Fields versus Lance. It's not Jimmy G. I haven't missed anything there. So you're saying both of them will get big point games in enough to get them top 12 fantasy QB.
That's right.
Love it, Neil. Love it. That is the point of fantasy predictions, because let's be honest, they were basically fantasy predictions bound to go wrong. Neil, we're here. We're ready. Are you ready for Scott to tell you that there's commercial-free football Sunday at 6 o'clock?
I was born ready to hear those words.
Ready for that witching hour. Ready for all these games. There's actually a lot of good games. There is some absolutely terrible ones. One of them being Washington versus Jacksonville. What a horrific game. A short show this week, a sharp show this week, but we are in regular season form now. This is going to be the format. Mainz events, fancy darling, fancy loser, predictions of the week. Before we go, Neil, before we sign people off and get them ready for Thursday Night Football, where can people catch you before they watch games either later or on Sunday?
Well, if you are listening to me, you'll want to get David and Joker, especially if you drafted George Kittle, as he's not going to play on Sunday. And if he does, he'll be very, very limited. He has a serious groin strain. But anyway, you can find me on the Twitter at ndutton13. This week I have the tight end report, which gives you 3 tight ends you may want to plug in. That's on RotoViz. I have the Super Bowl odds tracker, looking at every team's odds to win the Super Bowl before a ball is kicked. That's available on Numberfire. On 4for4 Football, you can see the matchups column. I write them this year for the Chargers and for the Jaguars. I assume, because I did record it and sent it over to Ollie, I will be featuring on the Nat Coombs show, giving you 3 fantasy darlings this week. So we've only had 2. They get more. Sorry, Mainz. And maybe, if it all goes to plan, those same ones will be played on the NFL coverage on TalkSport 2 on Sunday.
Fantastic, Neil. I am at Maindy7, combined with at waxing_lyrical. I also host a podcast for the touchdown.co.uk called The Touchdown Review. That this week we had Callum, Thomas, Taib and Joe. We talked their team's matchups. So Patriots at Miami, Saints at Falcons, Eagles at Lions, Browns at Panthers. We talked about a hot take for the season, and we talked about an upset for week 1. Excellent stuff by them. Not a lot of love for the San Francisco 49ers. And also, we thought and someone thought that the Cards are going to beat the Chiefs, which goes completely against my pick for this week. Guys, we're here. We're ready to go. It's been a while, but we get Thursday Night Football. We get NFL Game Day. We get morning. We get Red Zone. We get everything you need, and if you're unlucky, you can watch it on Sky Sports. Anyway, without further ado, we will let you go. Enjoy the week. These top guys are out.